What can we say about our next speaker? She is the most impeccable combination of beauty and grace. In conversation with our next speaker is Anuradha Sengupta. She hosts, edits the weekly conversation series Off Center and the docu-feature show Reporters Project on CNN News 18. She is responsible for the weekend programming on CNN News 18 and is a part of Network 18's leadership team. A broadcast journalist with a unique approach to news features, storyboard edited by Anuradha Sengupta. Was the first show for marketing and brands on Indian television and continues to be an industry benchmark, being on CNN, IBN, and Beautiful People on CNBC TV 18 have enjoyed a cult following. A thoughtful, visual approach to news television is the hallmark of a long, diverse career in broadcast journalism. Please welcome the moderator of this session, Miss Sengupta. Hi, Anuradha, how are you? Which is your best side? Take whichever you like. Done. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker, yet again words fail to impress and to articulate her beauty and her grace. So you know what? I'm just going to zip it, allow you to see an AV.
Time that I was suffering, I wish that I had come across that one person who said, I think I know what it is. The minute I understood the term depression, it just made it so much easier to deal with. I never give up. The minute you tell me that I can't do something, I work that much harder to prove, not to people but to myself, that I can do it.
Deepika Padukone. Ladies and gentlemen, an Indian film actress, she is one of the highest paid actresses in India and has received several awards for her multifaceted, power-packed acting prowess. She has featured in listings of the nation's most popular personalities, and the Time magazine named her as one of the most influential 100 people in the world in the year 2018. In the year 2013, a journalist described her as strong someone who makes up her own mind and has motivation within herself. Padukone has also been outspoken on issues such as feminism and has said, new feminism isn't about being aggressive, it's about reaching the top yet being soft. It's about being you, feminine, strong, and full of willpower. Her foundation, named the Live, Love, Laugh Foundation, creates awareness on mental health in India. She has also launched a campaign named More Than Just Sad to assist general physicians in their treatment of patients suffering from depression or anxiety. As an actress, some of her notable works are films like Cocktail, Piku, Padmavat, Golyon Ki Ras Leela, Ram Leela, and these are films that have been well received by audiences across the world and critics alike. So ladies and gentlemen, before I invite her on stage, I'm going to quote Andre Agassi again. And he says, there are many ways of getting strong. Sometimes talking is just the best way. So to have a conversation and to talk to Anuradha, please welcome on stage, Miss Deepika Padukone.
Thank you. Deepika, I'm delighted to be here to have this conversation, not just because you're one of the finest actors of our times, but because you have this really sort of silky, quiet resolve, which masks a steely determination, right? And that's made you, and I think that's made her, one of the most iconic Indians we have today. But you know that, don't you? The world, you're India's best advertisers, marketers, brands. You all love her and can't get enough of her, isn't it? So, Deepika, is it a one-sided love affair, or do you love them back equally?
They know that. I love them more, maybe. I don't think I'd be where I am today if it wasn't for the faith that, you know, not just filmmakers, but brands have had in me. And of course, you know, I think it's a two-way relationship. And that's what I think brand relationships are. You sort of contribute to each other's journey to success.
And you were a model much before you became an actor, isn't it? Do you remember the first brand that you ever endorsed?
Yes. I actually did a couple of campaigns when I was in school, because my classmate's mother was a modeling agent. She still is, Anila Anand. And she, you know, would see me in school in the mornings when my mother would, you know, sort of come to drop me, or in the evenings while picking us up. And she'd keep, you know, telling my mother that she should get into modeling. And my mother'd be like, don't put these thoughts in her head. She needs to finish her education. And, but anyway, I mean, I did a few campaigns as a child over the weekend, you know, just for a little exposure and some fun. And I think that's pretty much when I realized, you know, as a kid, that this is really what I wanted to do.
So what was the first brand? You can't remember. See, she's buying time.
No, I do. Now, there's like a pre and a post. So professionally was little.
Yeah.
I was a little girl first. But before that, I mean, it's now West Side, but it used to be called Little Woods.
Yeah.
And that was my first print campaign.
Wow. So, Deepika, given that these guys have the money and you have the time, a brand association happens. But is there any other consideration that comes in the way? Are there any filters that you use when you decide that, okay, this is going to be somebody I'm going to spend lend my face and brand equity to, your own brand equity?
To be honest, actually, I think for me, money is secondary and time is secondary. Brand value is what is of most importance to me. And it's not to say that one brand is better than the other, but I think it's important to be honest and authentic in the story that you're telling. And I think the audience or a consumer is also very, very receptive and perceptive to associations that may not be honest, organic, and genuine. So I think it's very important for me, from the way I look at it, to have associations, whether it's a film or an endorsement or anything that I do, it needs to come from a place of honesty and authenticity. Everything else will follow, you know, whether it's the money, whether it's, you know, the dates working out, or all of that for me is secondary.
Okay. Like brands, film stars today, celebrities today need to negotiate this new, very democratic social media world, isn't it? Where everybody has the power to speak and to reach out. What are your mantras? How do you negotiate social media? Because it is a double-edged sword. They scrutinize you, we scrutinize you, and you use it to build your fan base and to, you know, these loving relationships with people.
So are we talking about?
How do you manage social media? Are there any
social
mantras,
media
any rules?
vis-a-vis myself personally,
Yeah,
or the brands?
No, yourself.
Again, I think what we spoke about earlier, which is, again, being honest and authentic, is, I think that journey sort of continues, and that story should continue you know, there as well.
But how much do you share? How much do you decide this is okay to share, this is not okay to share? If you get trolled, do you get trolled? Not really.
I'm sure I do.
So do you engage, don't you engage?
It's not in my nature to sort of react to everything, and I'm sure people who know enough about me will know that. But I think as far as sharing is concerned, I think it's in the way that I've also conducted myself in every other aspect of my life, which is, you know, to be honest and to be generous, but at the same time, you want to keep certain things personal and private, and be able to retain, you know, retain a little bit to yourself. You know, I don't think everything about yourself needs to be public or published or,
but
you know, on a public platform.
But I feel I know Ranveer and you very intimately, thanks to everything I read and see, and that you share. So what is it that I don't know?
A lot. A lot. You know, and a lot of it is also public perception. You know, a lot of it is, you know, what is written. Not everything is always clarified. I do tend to leave, you know, let a lot of things pass because I don't feel like I need to engage with every single conversation that happens. But I think as far as what is in my control, which is what I put out, will always be something that means something to me, or, you know, that seems authentic or seems a part of me. I don't think I would do anything that's uncharacteristic of me.
But you can't afford not to do it. You need to be on social media.
Absolutely. I think it's very, very important. I think it's a great, you know, it's a great way for our fans to engage with us. It's a great way for me to engage with my fans. It's a great way to know what is happening in the world.
Yeah.
Sure, it has its sort of, you know, downsides, and I think it's up to each one of us how much, you know, we want to protect ourselves from, you know, I think sometimes it can get into your head, and I think it's important to have, you know, a filter and know when to sort of detox or when to cut off or when not to engage. Yeah.
So, living life in a fishbowl, and at the same time, I think actors in your generation especially have been very open about your lives. In 2014-15, you were diagnosed with clinical depression, and you came out and you shared it with all of us. And not just that, you started this foundation, the Love, Laugh Foundation. I want you to relive that a little bit, because you set off a really huge conversation in our society as a result of what you did. When did you discover that you needed help about the way you were feeling? How were you feeling, and who told you? How did you know that I need help, this is not okay?
I was sort of aware of the way I was reacting, you know, the fact that my moods were erratic, and I would just suddenly break down. You know, I felt, you know, lack of motivation, suicidal thoughts, not wanting to wake up and face a day, you know, all of those things. But I didn't know why it was happening, or I didn't even know what it was, to be honest. Like I knew that this is what I was feeling, but I wasn't able to pinpoint why I was feeling that way, or, you know. And it was my mother who you sort of, you know, noticed it and said, I think you need professional help. And this was a couple of months into me feeling this way, and I don't know what I would have done if she hadn't spotted it at that point. And, you know, sometimes I hear stories of people who suffer and have been dealing with it for years. And it breaks my heart because, you know,
Because it's so stigmatized, right? How can I be feeling this? Is it that?
It's the stigma and the lack of awareness. And that is precisely what the Live, Love, Laugh Foundation is working towards. Because there's so much stigma and lack of awareness. So a lot of people are aware of what they're going through, but do not want to seek help. But most people aren't even aware of what they're experiencing, you know. So fortunately, in my case, my mother sort of recognized it, and I got help immediately.
So I know your foundation is doing work in the rural areas in Karnataka. Is there a perception that depression, mental health, some of these issues are rich people problems?
Yes. That we have the luxury to be depressed, you know, or the fact that, you know, you have everything in the world, why would you be depressed? But depression can happen to anyone at any age, from any strata of society, from any profession, any gender. It can happen to absolutely anybody.
So I have a suggestion. You know, every time I see Ranveer, I think if your foundation needed a brand ambassador and you needed to get one, it should be that guy. Because he sort of epitomizes this infectious zest for life. What is he on, Deepika? What's he doing? What's he on? Tell us. You make a lot of money if you can sell what he's having.
On a more serious note, though, I don't know if he'd be the right brand ambassador for that, because for someone who's going through depression, it makes you feel worse. So, you know, and I think it's probably the most dangerous thing to do, actually, when someone is experiencing symptoms of depression or is going through depression, to tell them, to nudge them and say, come on, you know, it'll be okay, or, you know, make them listen to like some happy music, or, I mean, you know, I'm not giving you a clinical perspective, I'm giving you my perspective, and it would make me feel worse. It would make me feel, if someone said, come on, let's go for a movie, you'll feel better, or let's, you know, go out for a party, maybe it'll, you know, up your mood. It would make me feel worse. So it could actually work completely the opposite. I think depression is very, very nuanced.
Sure.
You know, and I think it's going to take us a while to really understand the illness.
Of course. But what is
But
Ranveer
coming back to the question, what is he on?
What is he on? Where does he get the energy from? Is he always on?
No.
Does he ever switch off?
Yes.
He does.
Yeah, the Ranveer I know is switch off. The Ranveer you know is switch on.
Can you keep pace with that energy?
I don't need to. I don't need to keep pace with that energy.
He keeps pace with yours.
I guess. And I think that's the beauty of our relationship, that we're just so different from each other, but in a lot of ways we're also very, very similar. I think especially in our family values, in the way that we've been brought up, in the way that we've achieved, you know, the struggles, the hard work, the determination. So I think there's a lot of things that, that sort of brought the two of us together, but we're also, I think, outwardly and maybe externally very different people, which is also, I think, very, very exciting.
So you're not going to share his secret, his energy pill,
I
right?
wouldn't know his secret. To be honest, he's not that person at home. He's actually, there's an extremely, which I think now also people will start seeing, and you know, you see it in his work as well, which is there's an extremely quiet side to him. There's an extremely intelligent side to him. There's a very sensitive and emotional side to him. There's a, you know, there's a vulnerable, childlike innocence. So there's so many facets to him, but I don't know what happens when he leaves the house. You know, and he only has, you know, badam and nariyal pani in the morning, and I'm making that for him. So I'm not mixing anything in that.
Badam and Nariyal Pani. Deepika Padukone is serving Ranveer Singh Badam and Nariyal Pani. Just let's pause for a minute and think of that picture of domestic bliss. So, Mrs. Ranveer Singh or Mr. Deepika Padukone?
Both.
Both?
Ranveer Singh Padukone and Deepika Padukone Singh.
Wonderful.
Whatever you want it to be.
Deepika, you talked about the kind of work he's doing. It's amazing the kind of work you're doing. Both of you seem to be like really at the top of your game at this point of time. When you look back at your first film, Om Shanti Om, yeah? Beautiful, poised debut, but a lot of people thought here's another model who can't really act. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are sitting with the finest, one of the, if not the finest actors in the movies. You know, and I was telling you earlier when we met that the fact that Deepika is living life, it's on her face, it's in her eyes. How, if you were to look at all the movies you've made, if you were to pick a few movies or films that have helped you get to this stage of your craft?
I think definitely, I'd say Cocktail, Veronica. It allowed me to be somebody that I'm not inherently. And it just really opened me up, you know, and sometimes
so you dropped some inhibitions at that point.
Yes, and you come across characters sometimes that really never leave your system. And I think it in a way, I don't think Veronica has left my body and my system completely. I think there are moments when, you know, I'll be like her or react like her. And
so Cocktail was a milestone.
Cocktail was one. Bajirao Mastani.
Yeah.
You know, I think the courage and the strength and the determination with the elegance and poise, I think that's something I identified with a lot. But if I really had to choose amongst all the films that I've done, I think Piku would be my most favorite film.
Mine too. So, but are these films where you felt that as an actor, you've crossed a level or a barrier every time, you know, and reached this space? Are these the stepping stones in your journey as an actor, in the craft of acting?
Yes. Om Shanti Om, Love Aajkal, Cocktail, Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, Chennai Express. You know, I think all of them have
helped you get to
a
this
few
point.
South Indians were clapping. But all of these films, I think, have definitely, you know, led me to where I am today as an actor. And then that's why I'm able to do a film like Chapak, which is what I'm doing next.
And you're producing that film?
Yes.
Why are you producing a film?
Because when a director comes to you with a film, and it's probably happened very rarely where there's no studio attached to a film. It's usually everything sort of put together and then it comes. But this time, Meghna came to me as a director with this beautiful script, and I feel like by coming on board as producer, I think it's going to reach a lot more people. So no, the business of cinema doesn't excite me as much as the fact that cinema has the ability to impact and touch and influence people's lives. And by adding one more dimension, if I can do that a lot more effectively, you know, why not?
What I found interesting is you used the word authentic earlier on in the conversation. And if you look at the box office and the way it's behaved in the past year, in Hindi cinema at least, anything that's inauthentic, formulaic, gimmicky seems to have been rejected. Stories seem to have taken front and center stage. What impact has that had on women and the roles that women are getting?
But that's precisely why I didn't sign a film for 2 years. You know, sure, I can talk about how I've taken the year off to also live life a bit like we spoke about earlier, which is very, very important for the profession that we're in and for the craft. But more importantly, I did not want to do anything that was going to be inauthentic to who I am as a person and as an actor and what I bring to the screen. So if it meant, sitting on the sidelines and waiting for that right opportunity to come my way, I was willing to do that. Because, like I said, I think cinema has this amazing power and you want to use it in the right way.
But has the kind of roles that are coming to women, when stories are becoming important, when small films are doing well because of the stories and the performances, does that mean that women are getting juicy, meaty roles? Has that changed for you guys?
Yes, you have writers who, I've said this earlier as well, I have writers who...
are they writing for you?
Either they're writing with you in mind, with me in mind, or they have stories that they've lived with for a while that had male protagonists, and they're rewriting them with female protagonists.
That's fantastic to hear.
It's just the most exciting time, for the entertainment industry.
So how long did you wait? You said you didn't take a few films for a bit because you didn't like what was coming your way.
The whole of last year, I didn't film anything.
Yeah.
The whole of last year.
You didn't like anything that was coming to you?
I mean, except Meghna's film, which I greenlit towards the end of last year, and we start filming in a couple of weeks. No, nothing other than that.
Wow, it says a lot about our lack of imagination if you're not getting movies that you like and you want to make. But here's the thing. When you talk about the movie business and some of these changes that we're experiencing, what about money and women getting the money? We just heard that you're one of the, are you the most highly paid actor in the movie business today?
I will say yes to that.
Yeah, a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. It's taken a long time for a woman to be able to say that in any business, and definitely the movie business. So congratulations on that, Deepika. Was that a battle?
I wouldn't say it's a battle. I would say, actually, yes, a little bit of a battle and a little bit also of, I think I needed to get to that place where I can even start that conversation. And when I did get to that place, I remember even a couple of years ago, and I was asked the same question, I'd feel very apologetic about it. And then I said, one second, why am I doing that? Yeah. Of course, in a normal situation, I would not like to talk about my remuneration. It's just not a nice thing. But in order to take the conversation forward, I felt like it needs to be said.
But of course, when women get paid less for the same work and for the same billing or the same opening that they're able to deliver,
yes,
of course. So it's been hard fought.
Yes, and I wouldn't say it's easy. I'll still say that it's still something that one has to fight for. But let me put it this way, I guess it's easier now versus maybe a couple of years ago. And before that, maybe I just didn't deserve it. Even I didn't think I was in that place to kind of ask for that.
But when you feel today that you deserve it and you know that the market recognizes it, you are able to demand it and get it.
Yes.
Fantastic. Deepika, the movie industry, like all other walks of Indian life in the past year, has experienced women stand up and call out misbehavior, sexual crime, offenses, and entitled male behavior all across the board. Are you seeing, is there a fundamental shift now in the way men are reassessing the gender equation?
Yes.
But it's still superficial?
Yeah. My sense is that it hasn't really happened in the way that it should, and that is my fear. But at least, it's a conversation starter, and I would definitely say that there's certainly some amount of fear, but I think we still have a long way to go.
A long way to go, huh? But do you think that the battle, you know, people are not fighting the battle. There was a momentum. This movement evolved organically via social media. A lot of very brave women came up and spoke. Do you feel that it has lost steam?
That's exactly what I'm saying, that it kind of picked up steam, but I think for something that has been sort of almost a given, or something that has been so sort of accepted and, you know, a part of not just the film fraternity, but society as a whole, I don't think something that erupts for such a short period of time, I don't think we're going to see the kind of change that we should actually be seeing.
Yeah, actually, you know, we are sitting in Cochin and talking, and this is the state where the women in the, Malayalam film industry have got together and created something called the Women in Cinema Collective, which is doing some amazing work. So a big round of applause to the women in the movie business here. Do you see you guys do something like that in Bombay, or it's not possible, and why not?
Yes, we should. But let's not also forget that there are good men out there.
Of course, no one's saying they're not.
So,
not for a minute is anyone suggesting that.
I don't think if it's, I mean, yes, should we have something similar in every industry? Of course we should, but I think it should be gender neutral. And the conversation itself, I think we've grossly misunderstood the definition of feminism, and I really think it's about right and wrong and not male versus female.
Sure, because it's power, and that power equation that determines this kind of behavior. But having said that, we belong to a country and live in a society where that power is a man's entire, birthright almost, isn't it? And therefore, the man versus woman thing.
Sure. But again, like I said, I think we need, I don't think we can isolate the male gender in this conversation. I think we need them to be an equally important part of the movement and of the, if we want to see change.
Yeah. Men have to participate in this conversation.
Yes.
Okay. You're a feminist, there's no doubt about that. Were you surprised when, after the release of Padmavat, not the Johar scene, that's a story, right? But the fact that a lot of people felt that the way Sanjay Leela Bhansali had depicted that act of Johar was something that flew in the face of feminism. Okay, now in retrospect, and of course it's not in your hand, you're an actor, he's the director, producer. Do you feel that that went against a feminist viewpoint, the depiction, not the fact that it had happened, but the depiction, the way Bhansali portrayed it in Padmavat?
It doesn't change the act.
No, it doesn't.
But it doesn't change the act that women committed.
But do you think this magnificently mounted film ended up glorifying the act?
That's his way of storytelling.
Right.
So, sure, if we were doing, the only difference would have been the depiction. If Anurag Basu directed the film, it would probably be more gruesome. If a Sanjay Leela Bhansali does the same thing, it's just done in a slightly more cinematic, poetic way. It doesn't negate the fact that that's what women did, So, I'm not really sure.
If you were the director, what route may you have taken?
I don't know. I've never thought about that, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think I understand.
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I don't know how else you would tell that story.
Yeah.
I don't know if telling it in a more gruesome way would be the right thing to do, or whether the way Bhansali did it was the right or wrong way. I don't think I have an objective or perspective. Because how do you sort of show the act of Johar being committed,
Okay.
How do you think it should have been done? Because even I'm confused now.
Well, you know, it looked so beautiful. The fact that a woman walks into the fire willingly, to me, in my limited opinion, is extreme. It's a man's view of the world, okay? No human being will walk into fire willingly. So that act of Johar is feted and celebrated by men. And women have been made to, over the centuries, accept that that's a good way to be. So that's where I'm coming from. But, you know, Deepika, I think you've got to leave. So I'm going to do one question. We are living in very politicized and polarized times, okay? And I know it's now become an occupational hazard, which is that film stars are made to comment about all news events, okay? How does that make you feel? So I'm not going to say, aapko kaisa laga? Aapka rai kya hai Kashmir ke baare mein? Okay? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to put you in a spot. But do you feel as an artist, as a social influencer, as someone who has such enormous clout over the way people think, do you feel that you need to stand up and be counted or weigh in when it comes to some of the most controversial and polarizing issues of our times?
I think yes. I think yes. I think
it's... A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. This is very difficult to do in today's day and age. To stand up and be counted is really hard, especially for someone in her position.
I think yes, because I think when you are in that place where your voice matters, yes, I think it is important. What troubles me is what after that. So I have, you know, I think every time an incident occurs politically, you know, or otherwise, sure, I think, you know, of course there are people who choose not to comment, and then there are people who come out very strongly and, you know, and have an opinion. I definitely believe, you know, like I did with depression, for example. I'm just giving an example. If you feel like you can bring about change, I think you must. But what after that? You know, so if we go to multiple events and we're asked about a particular event, it ends there. You know, so I think what we need to look at is that really the solution? I don't think us commenting on anything is really helping.
Fair enough.
But yes, you know, I think, you know, if it does help in a way, you know, certainly I'd, you know, weigh in.
Okay. Deepika, how are you doing on time? What time do you have to leave?
According to this, it says 00 minutes and 00 seconds, which means we should be out of here.
All right. I think
not because we want to go, but because I think...
Yeah, no, that's clear. Okay, one last question. You know, we were sitting at the back there, and the moment the video came on the diabetes leading to blindness ad, I saw you just stopped talking and you were watching. Question is, when you're watching the ads, do you enjoy them? And is there any particular ad or jingle that's playing in your mind these days? As a tribute to these folks here, this is the world. These are the people who create India's and the world's best known brands. You're a brand. Come on, do a jingle for us.
What? Do a jiggle or a jingle?
Jingle. See, if it was Ranveer, I'd say do a jiggle for us. But since it's you, I'm going to say do a jingle for us. Or just whatever. Leave us with a nice, on a happy note. Go for it.
Oh God, now there's like so many. Help me, come on. Huh? Oh.
Close up.
I get into deep trouble. Help me with something. A jingle of a brand.
Yeah, anything that's in your head or anything that you've seen these days that's stayed with you. Or just, you know, maybe the little one if it's still in your head after all these years.
You do know I endorse about 20 brands. So I'm now thinking, okay, not this jingle, not this jingle, not this jingle.
Oh, not this jingle, that's bad. But so you do 20.
Not and this because I can't sing the jingle of a competing brand.
So,
right?
But you can, so you have 20 brands, Ranveer has the other 20. Between the two of you, this market is between the Padukone Singh families, is it?
Yes. That's exactly why we married. We were like, let's get married and then take over the advertising world.
Okay, Deepika, thank you. It was a lovely conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And the next time, I'll come prepared with a jingle. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. Could we have a huge round of applause for Anuradha and for, of course, the one and only Deepika Padukone. Thank you so much for joining us today. May I please request both of you to kindly remain on stage. Invite Mr. Pradeep Guha on stage to kindly present a token of appreciation to Deepika and to Ms. Sengupta. Ladies and gentlemen, Deepika Padukone, Ms. Sengupta and Mr. Pradeep Guha. Ladies and gentlemen,